That's what we were talking about today. You wonder if they will or not.
You know, out of 12 college football programs in the state, in classes, I don't think I ever remember that.
All of them on the list ever had.
Everybody's out of state.
Henderson being over two.
They're one and two. But still, yeah.
You guys lost again this year.
What was my first one?
Well, that's the first lot. I was thinking John lost. Always nicer when you win.
Yeah.
Gotta have some UCA grads here. I mean, that's the thing. You gotta get some UCA We're any day now. I'm like, if you see me running here today, it's not the episode of that. It's the bed on board.
Hey, Dwayne.
Doing good?
Where you on?
I miss the orb.
Yeah. Guinea pig?
Yeah. Skinny pig.
He kicked me and slapped me and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you.
Good having you here, Coach.
You'll kind of stay. You'll rest on. Seen for a long time. I'll be the guinea pig and take the first picture. I'm going to cover up our purple ties. I'll be introducing you in a few minutes. I'm going to go way back.
So very good. So we won't have people coming on. Where is that? That's been put in the bottom.
That was fall. Maybe they won't slide your foot back. Yeah, those artificial.
Yeah, they are.
It's like being on a Where do you want them to stand?
Man, you're going to take a picture. We're going to take that spot. There's all yours. There's all yours. Yeah. Hey, good to see you. God, I'm coming racing. Yeah, love doing stuff. All right, I see you.
Okay, this way. You can come this way.
Bill? Who?
It's just college course. Couldn't find it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Oh, no, I just don't.
see you. You got it. Yes, sir.
Welcome back to Arkansas.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Got that orange shirt on today.
I got that. Yeah, and again, folks.
Yeah. Good to see you. All right. Good. Come on in here. All right. Good to see y'all. How you doing? Queen City,
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Hazel, how are you today?
Okay. How you doing? Good to see you. Come on in. How you doing? Everybody look good. How's the team?
I know Photoshop and those guys will be red flag.
Oh, that's all right. How's the team? Good.
Hey.
Good luck. Good to see you. Yes, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey. I can't wait to get back to the beach. That's why I live at the beach.
I'm with you.
How you doing? You tell Mark. Yeah. Wait, yes. Oh, every day. I know they're getting around. Oh, you have fun. Oh, yeah.
What's up today?
Coach Earl Hammonds. Mark White.
No, you know what? We'll get it.
Oh,
He had compass. But I rode the Cotton Bowl in the limousine.
oh, was you there?
Yeah.
John was with us too.
Yeah.
And then David Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see you.
Come back. Awful defense.
Yes.
I like, yeah, I like
Offense is fine.
Good to see y'all.
That defense.
Everybody said hello.
I will.
Good to see you.
Five possessions, five scores. Every time I had the ball. I think it's about the worst half of defense we've lost. I'm sure they will work on that this week. Oh, dude, not good either. No.
Good to see you.
No, not good. Yeah, we were two touchdowns better than that team.
Come on in.
Glad you're here to see us today.
Oh, we should call it. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I've kept up with
Now the
Good to see you.
What's up? How are you, man? Trying my best. Trying my best now.
Nelson Lively. I played basketball this year.
Oh, you did?
I get to man, you can hit a drive with 1 mile still rolling. I get to see you.
What happened back home? The defense is awful. Well, yeah, but we should have been in that situation. They were backed up to 2-6.
Yeah.
They keep possession. Now it's defense, 5 possessions, 5 scores. Awful.
Hey, you doing?
Yeah.
Now, new water. Yes, sir.
Joe.
Water, what's
Take the time, sir.
Got to be home.
Thank you very much, sir.
First year?
Thanks, Weiser. How are you? Hi, Andy.
I appreciate being here.
Hello, Rex Nelson. How are you, sir?
How are you, man?
How are you, sir?
Oh, no, I got 99 meters.
So that's the first year.
I think I got a bunker. I bumped her out of the way and I said, RJ's playing my intro right now. She like went, woo!
Jackson?
I can talk to you about it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Rex. Hey, how are you?
How are you? Oh, Lord, you're hard up. Wow.
You got it.
We just got a few extra.
All right, appreciate it, sir.
I need to get your number. I need to get your number.
Good to see you always.
Charlotte? Oh, yeah.
And I had
Oh, yeah. Hey, that was back in the day. How you doing? How are you? Train automotive, yes, sir. It's been weird. Not bad, not good.
Yeah, that's right. You might be in my head. That's right.
Right, how are you doing? Nice to see you.
You too.
Thank you.
Great.
I was gonna say.
Good to see you.
I guess I'm the last one. There you go, sir. Nice guy. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Last but not least.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You get the pretty lady, too, so.
Thank you.
I'm also, this is the mayor of St. Johnson office. I think David, I think this is Sharpie. David, can we wear your Sharpie?
Scott?
He's something else, coach.
You're right there. You bet. We got some Simmons. They're our presenting sponsor, Chris White. Started Simmons back in the late 1800s. Welcome home. Check, check, check. Check one. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check. Brand, can you hear me? The back row Baptist back there. I like it. Very nice. All right, welcome everybody. Great to have you on this beautiful Monday. An unbelievable amount of great football over the weekend. So great to have Tommy Tuberville back in his home state of Arkansas. Going to be a fun meeting today. Matter of fact, it's already been news on the buzz. Coach Tuberville has said not only would he be open to coaching again, but he'd be open to being an athletic director. How about that? So I'm telling you, listen, he's on TV right now with ESPN. A lot of people in Alabama want him to run for governor. He's got all kind of job opportunities, Coach. We're just glad you're here today. And you know what? The thing I respect most about him is that he knows who wears the pants in his family, because he told me yesterday, he said, David, I think I'm just going to go with no tie today. So I decided I would go with no tie today, and I walked up and I said, Coach, what are you doing with a tie? He said, wife told me I need to wear a tie. So that's so he's a smart man. It's great to have everybody here today. It's going to be a fun meeting. We appreciate you taking time. You know, Mondays is the place to be over here at the Touchdown Club, and I think it's going to be a fun meeting today. Gary Underwood, would you come up and lead us in a word of prayer, please?
It is great to have an Archie here speaking to us today. Governor of which state? Alabama. Oh, okay. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beautiful day, the opportunity we have to gather together and renew our friendships and enjoy some great food and great entertainment and great speaker. Lord, we ask you today to be with the Rowe family during their time of loss, and we ask you to use us today in your service. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I'm going to mention Dr. Rowe here in a few minutes, but it's one of those things that makes you realize it was just Not even, it was February when we had Dr. Rolfe up here. Maybe gave the greatest talk that we've ever had. So do want to thank all of you for being here. If you're not a member, pay $75 and just be a member. Be supportive of us. We appreciate that. We can use that $75. We want to thank the 50-yard line members. We'll thank our sponsors here in a minute. We got Terry Condor Johnson. Terry, wave at everybody. If you're not a member of the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, find Terry. Please join the National Football Foundation. We want to represent Arkansas. There's a National Football Foundation looks around and go, well, hey, what are they doing in Arkansas? How many members get to vote on Arkansas players going to the College Football Hall of Fame? And we want you to do that. So if you need information, ask Debbie, and she can fill you in on that. Do want to thank our sponsors real quick, Twin City Limousine, Dale Bennett, Greg Hatcher. Thank you for always being willing to pick up our guests in first-class style. Little Rock Convention and Visitor Bureau, Gretchen Hall, David Russell. We're proud to be called the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Thank you so much. CJRW, who handles our Cliff Harris Award. They do such a great job. They're one of the oldest advertising firms in the South, and we appreciate the great job they do. They're a full-service marketing and communications firm. If you got any questions or need any help with your business, go to them. They can take care of you. 103.7 The Buzz. I know, Coach, you were on the air with Justin and Pat. We appreciate them being here every Monday broadcasting. They'll also be broadcasting some of Coach's speech later on. We appreciate them being a sponsor. Arkansas Urology. You know, last week we mentioned the free screening right around here at the corner, but they have another one September 28th. I guess that's next week in North Little Rock. So, guys, if you hadn't got screened, go get checked. Ladies, if you're here, get your man to go get checked. So we appreciate Arkansas Urology saving lives. 17 physicians, 8 locations. War Memorial Stadium, great to have the grand old lady as one of our sponsors. We have 2 games this week, Rex. Parkview versus Mills Thursday night, and Catholic versus Cabot. Our honoree, our All-Arkansas Preps honoree is Catholic players. So that's going to be a good game between Catholic and Cabot this Friday night over at War Memorial Stadium. Farm Bureau, Pulaski County. I want to thank Todd Dennis, Chris Johnson here today. Where are those guys at? Where are you guys at? Whether it be home, auto, boat, life, health, they're the folks you need to at least talk to them. They have 15 agents over there. They'll take real good care of you. If you hadn't got the Touchdown Club app, they're sponsoring that. So go and search Touchdown Club app, Little Rock Touchdown Club app. Thank you guys for sponsoring that. Give those guys a chance to have some of your business, if you will. I also want to thank Dairy Queen of Arkansas, Blake Lively, Nelson Lively, Todd Denton. If we ever need somebody to do any bouncing, Nelson Lively is going to be our bouncer. He showed me the other day that he's won, like, in his 40s, 4 tough man contests. He's 6'7"? 6'7", about 280 pounds. He said he's been in 60 fights and never lost one. So he is our official Touchdown Club bouncer at he also makes a heck of an ice cream cake at Dairy Queen. So thank you, Dairy Queen of Arkansas. They got the new location on University and 12th. Thank you, Nelson, Blake, Lively, and Todd Ditton. Also want to thank Gen Wealth Financial Advisors. I know Scott Inman is here today. If you have any questions about financial terms or investments, Scott is great. John Shrewsbury, Janet Walker. Scott's going to be handling my small little bit of money that I have, not much to work with, but he's going to work with me coming up this fall. Get ready for thefuture.com as a website. Thank you guys for being a sponsor of the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Big Red Stores, where's Dave and Doug Hendricks? There they are over there, the Hendricks family. 20 years in the business. Appreciate you guys being a great sponsor. Location number 36 coming up here soon. As Roger Scott says, if you don't live near Big Red, you need to move close to one. We thank them for being a first-time sponsor this year. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Where's Judy? Judy Henry over here. Charlie Coleman, Jacob Lively, Antoine Phillips. I know you brought your pastor today. That's always a good idea to bring your pastor to the Touchdown Club. Pastor Clegg, yes, Second Baptist downtown, right? Yeah, always a good idea. But if you want to win in court, they're the folks you need to have on your side. They're doing a great job for me. I can't thank you guys enough, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, for sponsoring the Touchdown Club and the Cliff Harris Award. Crane Automotive, Larry Crane, Chris Crane, Drew Dees, where are my Crane guys right here. There's Skinny Drew. I don't even recognize you anymore, man. How many pounds you've lost? 121 pounds. Stand up, Drew. Stand up. Come on. Lost 121 pounds. My goodness, that's outstanding. They have almost 20 dealerships. You'd lose weight just trying to keep up with all the dealerships you guys have. They almost employ 1,000 people. Make sure and give them a chance for your business. Congratulations, Drew. We appreciate the support. They also sponsor the Northwest Arkansas Touchdown Club. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette has been with us since year 1. This is year 14. Can't say enough thanks to Wally Hall. Amanda Copley will introduce all Arkansas Preps Player of the Week here in just a minute. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Wally. Wally, did Wally get up with you today? Not yet. All right. Well, I need to talk to Coach Tuberville. I said, well, I'm sure he'll be willing to visit with you. Also, couldn't do it without Simmons Bank. Today we have Chris White, who's you've sort of become the George Macris of Simmons Bank. You know, George's not here. Adam's not here. Chris has been here probably more meetings than anybody. We appreciate you fitting us in. And Jay Metter as well. Jay, thank you for being here. I was telling Coach Tuberville, when you're growing a $14 billion bank, it's tough for the president to be at all the Touchdown Club meetings. So we just love the fact that that's a local business that started in Pine Bluff, and you guys are doing stuff that's making waves on the national level. We couldn't be where we are as a Touchdown Club without Simmons Bank. So let's give them, our presenting sponsor, and all of our sponsors, a round of applause. I'm like a spread offense, Coach T. I just got to keep it moving, man. Just got to keep it moving. Do want to recognize our Touchdown Club team, 5 folks here at Embassy Suites. We're going to do a special little thing here in just a few minutes that Brent from the Embassy is going to help me do. But thank you to Beth, Brent, and Heyman for going the extra mile. Matt Johnson, a local Fidelity 6 back there doing our high-definition stream. Couldn't do it without you, Matt. Thank you so much. Dwayne Duncan. Where's Dwayne at? If you haven't got your hard copy, where's Dwayne? Right here. Wave at everybody, Dwayne. If you haven't got your hard copy photo from, I know, he's down there on a knee. From stand up, come on. From Ditka, from Bielema, he still won't do it. That's okay. Maybe that you don't want anybody calling you, right, to get you the hard copy photos are outside. And if you hadn't got those, reach out to Dwayne. But we appreciate you taking. Cliff Harris, we haven't gotten those yet, but we'll get those now. But thank you, Dwayne, for all the help you do with the Touchdown Club. RJ Hawk handles our social media, Hawk Media Solutions. At LR Touchdown Club is our Twitter account. LRTouchdown.com is our website. Of course, you can go to the Touchdown Club app, sponsored by Farm Bureau Pulaski County. Where's RJ at? Where's he back in the back? If you miss, for some reason, if you want to share what Coach Tuberville said today, the video will be on our Touchdown Club website. Matter of fact, my dad down in Florida said, I wanted to hear what Coach Ditka had to say. We archive all of our speakers. So every speech for the last 5-6 years, if you've missed it, you can go back and watch it on the Touchdown Club website, or you can follow what RJ tweets about it on our Touchdown Club Twitter account. And do want to thank our amazing folks who helped set up the whole room. Please stand real quick. Lee Danner, Ron Skaggs, Lewis Nally, Lauren, just hold your applause. Lauren Landers, Melissa Nelson, Sherry Hall, Shelly Adams, my mom Carolyn, her friend Jan Owen. Please stand. All these folks are the people who volunteer their time to check everybody in every week. How about that? Coach T, we couldn't. This is the best Touchdown Club team in America. I'll tell you that right now. Of course, our executive director who does such a great job. Let's give it up for Debbie Wyman back in the back. Thank you, Debbie. Some special guests here today. He is head of the Oaklawn Commission. He's a friend of Coach Tuberville. Great to have Smokey Campbell and his wife, Kathy. Let's give them a round of applause and welcome them. Because Coach Tuberville has been mentioned maybe running for governor, J.R. Davis, who is the right-hand man for Governor Hutchinson, is here today. Let's welcome J.R. He wants to find out what's going on. Where's J.R. at? There he is right there. Just in case, Coach. Alabama or Arkansas, you never know. And how about a big national win on ESPNU the other night from Pulaski Academy? We honored Lane Hatcher last week. I think we have Kevin Kelly and one of his assistants, who's a high-profile assistant, Chris Peterson. Where's Kevin? Stand up, Kevin. Chris, stand up. Let's give them a round of applause. They beat a team, Coach, out of Louisiana on national TV 60-20 or something like that. It was over with by the first half. Lane Hatcher, 5 touchdown passes in the first half. Do want to make mention, there was one open date. It's been an unbelievable year so far. I was thinking I might be able to get Jerry Jones this year. I'll just tell you, that was the one I was working on, holding out. I'm going to get him next year. But what we're going to do, we're going to move Dari Noka, who is the main host for the SEC Network. He's going to come in October 2nd. And then at the end of the year, I thought it was fitting. I know we've got Ken Turner here today, who's coached more All-American kickers in the history of U of A than anybody. I'm going to bring in a panel of 4 All-American kickers from the Razorbacks. We got Steve Cox, Bruce Leahy, Greg Horn, and Kendall Traynor. We'll all be here at the end of the year to wrap up our year. So how about a round of applause for Coach T and those great kickers? I'm sure Coach Bielema wishes he had one of those All-Americans this year, just not to rub it in or anything. And listen, we hope that young man, Cole Hanlon, gets another chance to go up there and win some games for us. And if he doesn't, that's okay. But that's going to be pretty amazing, Rex, to have 4 All-Americans. I played with 3 of them. So that will be great. And that's our last meeting of the year. At this time, it's time to introduce our All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week, sponsored by the Democrat Gazette. He is Sammy Johnson, and that's spelled S-A-M-Y, only one M. He's only a junior. He's a running back at Catholic, and Steve Sullivan has already given him a nickname. He is Sudden Sammy Johnson. Now, this is for what he did last week. Last week against Jacksonville, he rushed for 236 yards on only 19 carries. That comes out to 12 yards every time he touches the ball. They won 34-17. In his first two games, he was averaging 12 yards a carry. They lost this past weekend in a very tough game to Jonesboro. He still had over 119 yards and a touchdown reception for 66 yards. He's only a junior, but I'm telling you, he is a great young man. He's got a $1 million smile. Let's give him a Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome. Sammy Johnson. Great to have his mother, Darlene, here, and head coach John Fogelman from Catholic. Great to have you here, John and Darlene. He's a great young man. And a lot of times when we tell the players they don't have to speak, coach, they're relieved. But this young man, I think, could get up here and speak. I can tell he's got a $1 million smile, and he's a great young man. And we wish you the best the rest of the year, Sammy, for sure. All right, we had an amazing amount of games. I will only say this because I think there's one LSU fan. Wasn't that wonderful what we saw with LSU and Mississippi State? I'm just saying. I just can't resist it. But he's a good sport, and he's here for the weekend recap. Let's give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
All right, thanks, David. You know, we keep mentioning that governor's hat. I almost put my political governor's race. I almost put my political hat here. David, Coach, you'll remember this. You know, a few years ago, Charles Barkley was thinking about running for governor of Alabama, and at the time he was saying he was going to run as a Republican, and he tells the story about going to his mother and saying, Mom, I think I'm going to run for governor. And she said, as a Democrat or a Republican? He said, as a Republican. She said, Charles, that's the party of the rich. And he said, Mama, I am rich. True story. Didn't run, but I bet Coach runs as a Republican if he runs. You know, Coach, you picked a good week to be here. Open date. Everybody's in a good mood coming off an open date. We shut them out. I'm afraid it's reaching the point. It's kind of like that old song, I got to get drunk, and I sure do dread it. I got to go see the Hogs, and I sure do dread it. But hopefully that's going to get better. So let's go to the other games. ASU didn't get to play Miami a week ago, but they did get to beat up on poor old UAPB in Jonesboro, 48-3. Probably could have named the score. Red Wolf quarterback Justice Hansen, 24 of 31, 336 yards and only 3 quarters of play. 5 touchdown passes that tied the school record, which had been set by Freddie Knighton in the 2015 Go Daddy Bowl. So ASU's 1-1, UAPB drops to 1-2. In Conway, UCA moves to 2-1, 38-6 over 0-3 Southeastern Louisiana. Bears outgained Southeastern in that one, 473-279. I think they're going to have a really good team again this year. In the Great American Conference, it was crazy. Harding, Henderson, and Ouachita all upset at home by visitors from Oklahoma. Harding, you'll remember, was 11-0 in the regular season a year ago and won the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. They're 0-3. A shocking 28-27 loss to Southern Nazarene, which has been the whipping boy since they joined the conference. Harding led, get this, 27-14 with a minute left in the game. Nazarene scores a touchdown with 49 seconds remaining, recovers an onside kick, scores again with 29 seconds remaining, kicks the extra point and wins 28-27. Henderson's 1-2, unaccustomed spot for them, 36-30 loss to a Northwestern Oklahoma team that came in at 0-2. Reddies went up with a field goal with 3:24 left to make it 30-28, and Northwestern scores with a minute 32 remaining to win. Ouachita and Southeastern Oklahoma both came into their game at Arkadelphia, 2-0 records. Southeastern escapes with a 41-35 victory. Southeastern led by 20 after 3 quarters. Ouachita storms back with 2 touchdowns to get within 6, but can't get over the hump. And it was the first time for Southeastern to beat Ouachita and Arkadelphia since 1999. Now, along with Southeastern Oklahoma, the other GAC team with a 3-0 record is Arkansas Tech. Wonder Boys are off to a great start. They moved to 3-0, 58-21 over 0-3 Oklahoma Baptist in Russellville. Quarterback Ty Reasoner, 14 of 19 passing, 264 yards and 4 TDs. UAM's 2-1 following a 49-7 victory in Monticello over 1-2 East Central Oklahoma. Cole Sears, another good quarterback in D2, 23 of 34 passing, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also rushed for 70 yards. And Coach's alma mater, SAU, 2-1. Mule Riders win 38-14 in Magnolia over Southwestern Oklahoma, which is 1-2. Barrett Renner, 18 of 29 passing with 3 touchdowns. Now, even though Coach was a Mule Rider, David, I do notice he wore his Ouachita purple on his tie today. So very good taste right there, I must say. All right, so you got Tech at 3-0, Ouachita, UAM, and SAU at 2-1, Henderson at 1-2, and Harding at 0-3. Now, other schools in the state. Harding falls to 2-1 overall, 0-1 in conference, 52-42 loss to Center up in Danville, Kentucky. Lyon, though, has 2 victories now, following a 61-0 win over Trinity. They're 2-2 now. Trinity Bible up in North Dakota, 61-0. But they only played 3 people, Trinity. So anyway, Lyon off to a 2-2 start. Now, on to the SEC. Some of them are still thinking out there. Got to be quick. I know it's Monday. SEC, Florida. Did you see that? 63-yard Hail Mary to shock Tennessee in the swamp. 26-20. Almost enough to bring back a Philip Fulmer sad face, but we won't do that for you old-timers. 2 teams combined for 37 points. No defense in the fourth quarter. Florida 1-1 overall, 1-0 in the conference. Tennessee 2-1, now 0-1 in the conference. And break up the Commodores. How about Vanderbilt? 3-0 for the first time since 2011. Vandy shocks number 18 Kansas State, 14-7 in Nashville. 5th consecutive home victory. Those alumni don't know how to act. They're not used to winning 5 straight at home. In fact, it was Vanderbilt's, get this, first win over a ranked non-conference team since 1946. Congratulations to the Commodores. A&M comes into this week's game in Arlington 2-1. 45-21 at Kyle Field over 1-2 Louisiana Lafayette. But the Ragin' Cajuns led 21-14 at the half. A&M does come back to win it going away. And as David said, how about Mississippi State 37, LSU 7 at Stark Vegas? Nick Fitzgerald throws 2 touchdown passes. He runs for 2 more touchdowns. Now get this. These 2 schools have played 111 times through the year, and this was the largest margin of victory ever for Mississippi State in 111 games in that series. So State's 3-0, 1-0 in the conference. LSU's 2-1, 0-1 in the conference. Kentucky is 3-0. I mean, you look at the standings, I know it's early, but you see Mississippi State on one side and Kentucky on the other and say, huh? Kentucky's 3-0, 1-0 in the conference, first time since 2010 that's happened. 23-13 over South Carolina. That was Kentucky's 4th consecutive win over South Carolina in football. Ole Miss is 2-1, 27-16 loss that ended after 1 a.m. out at Cal. The Golden Bears are 3-0 under their first-year head coach Justin Wilcox. Ole Miss led by 9 at the half in that game, but then they got sleepy and got beat. Alabama 3-0, 41-23 over 2-2 Colorado State. Jalen Hurts passes for 248 yards, rushes for another 103 yards, and that's in less than 3 quarters of action. Georgia also 3-0, 42-14 over Samford. That's Samford, not Stanford. As Nick Chubb rushes for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns between the hedges. And Auburn is 2-1, but they struggled a bit in a 24-10 win over FCS Mercer, which is 1-2. That game played at Auburn, of course. 1-2 Missouri. You can look forward to Thanksgiving weekend, folks. They're plain old bad. They lost 35-3 to Purdue at home in Columbia, and it may not have even been that close. All right, this week, Arkansas and Texas A&M in Arlington, of course. Alabama at Vanderbilt. Be interesting to see if Vandy can hang around for a little while. Auburn at Missouri. Florida at Kentucky. We'll find out if Kentucky's for real or not. Mississippi State at Georgia in a battle of 3-0 teams. Syracuse at LSU. Louisiana Tech at South Carolina. And UMass at Tennessee. And you know, David, how I always list all these games being played in the state? We now have 12 college football teams in Arkansas. I don't think I ever remember this. Only one of them is home this weekend. That's Austin College at your alma mater, Jim Hendricks. So I guess I'll say go out and see a college football game in Conway, because that's the only one in the state. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rex. How many are excited, maybe taking the trip, excited about the 11 o'clock start for A&M versus Arkansas? I said, Wally's the only one who raises his hand. Well, I just got a text from RJ. Just been announced that next week against New Mexico State, that is an 11 o'clock start, too, on the SEC Network. So, whoo, those are early. I did want to mention real quick, if you're a board member, a founder or board member, I saw A.B. Metters for the first time here in a long time. Please stand. Let's welcome our board members and founding members. Please stand if you're a board member or founding member. Let's give them a round of applause. John, thank you for helping with Coach Tuberville years ago. It's great to have Coach Tuberville back for the second time. I did want to mention, how many of you were here for Dr. Rowe's speech? Coach, we had Archie Manning speak here at our awards banquet. You know Archie is amazing. But we're going to put this, I'm going to put this clip online sometime. Matt's going to get that done for us. He got up here to speak, Coach, and I mean, everybody was, you could hear a pin drop. He was unbelievable. What a great man. If you want to know why Willie Rofe was successful, it was because of his mother and father. And he died this past Tuesday. And the Touchdown Club, we're going to send some flowers or something in honor of Dr. Rofe. But what a great man. I'm so honored to say that I even got a chance to be around him. But no, he was larger than life, a big guy. But what a heart, what a great family. And I know Willie has got to be really in a lot of pain right now. But I just want to let you know that we're going to try to put that out there. And I hope you can share that if you do social media, because it was an unbelievable speech. It really was. Archie didn't even need to get up and speak after that. Before we bring up Jim Rasco to introduce Tommy Tuberville, you know, sometimes I run across little nuggets about things and about our speakers. And it just so happens that today happens to be a special day for Tommy Tuberville. So in typical Touchdown Club fashion, this is a rowdy bunch, Coach. We love to sing. We love to have fun. Throw bottles if we don't like the speaker. That hasn't happened yet. But today is Coach Tuberville's birthday. Now listen, I've looked at the number, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, so I took a guess. So at this time, Brent from the embassy, let's sing happy birthday to Coach as we bring this cake up here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Coach Tuberville. Happy birthday to you. Well, the good thing, the candles blew out on the way up here. Yeah, I knew it was either 36 or the other number, so I'm not really sure. Coach, before Jim introduces you, I just want to say thank you for fitting us in. I know this is your second time here. We're proud of your career and what you represent, and no telling what you're going to do in the future. It's going to be successful, whether it be in politics, football, or TV. We appreciate you fitting us in again this year, and glad you're back. Jim Rasco, will you come up and give him a formal introduction? Jim Rasco, everybody.
Okay, well, earlier this year, we've had speakers like Steve Spurrier and Mike Ditka that had never even been to Little Rock. Today, we have a guest that's born and raised in Arkansas and has been back to the natural state many times, even though his 21-year head coaching career was all outside our state. So I did some research, and first let's go back to March the 24th, 1959. Our speaker would have been 4.5 years old. The Camden newspaper reported that Gary Chambliss was honored in his home on his birthday. According to the paper, the guests included Charles and Tommy Tuberville and Mrs. Tuberville. I guess she had to take her kids to the birthday party. I wonder if our speaker remembers that all the guests received surprise Easter eggs upon arrival and later had an Easter egg hunt. After the guests sang happy birthday as Gary was blowing out the candles on his Western cake, I don't know what that is, the guests were served punch and individual cupcakes decorated with Easter bunnies and candy eggs. Do you remember that one, Coach? Okay, how about April 1964? The local Cub Scouts had a contest making hand-carved wooden racers. Second place in the contest went to Tommy Tuberville of Cub Scout Den number 1. Still got it. I knew he'd still have it. Okay. All right, now here's one. I don't guess there's any NCAA people here, but when he had barely turned 10 years of age, I found that our speaker could predict the outcome of college football games. In 1964, it was reported that Tommy Tuberville of Route 3 Camden was the winner of last week's Camden News football contest. Tommy will receive a check for $10. Still got that too, right? Okay, let's go to the fall of 1970, and Maddie's got some pictures we'll put up here. Wearing number 12 for the Camden Harmony Grove Hornets, Tommy Tuberville hits a long pass to Ernest Green, carrying to the 2-yard line, and then Tuberville runs it in for the touchdown. Next game, Tuberville leads the Hornets on a 70-yard drive, scoring the touchdown on an option run from 10 yards out, and then runs in the 2-point conversion to tie the game 8-8. Before his senior season, it was reported that Tuberville has been having some shoulder problems, and he's the key to the offense, and no other signal caller is available with his ability or experience. In the opening game of the season, Tuberville had a 42-yard touchdown pass and also ran for a touchdown as Harmony Grove beat Sparkman 33-6. In the second game of the season, Tuberville hits a 25-yard TD pass to Ivory Haygood and then runs in the 2-point conversion as Harmony Grove defeats Gould 27-0. Okay, I don't have time to cover any of the rest of the games, but at the end of the 1971 season, Tuberville is named All-District and then goes on to play as a defensive back for Coach Rip Powell at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia. He also played on the school's golf team and has been inducted into SAU's Sports Hall of Fame. Okay, now besides Coach and Rex, how many of you know where Hermitage is? Show of hands. Oh my goodness, I didn't. Okay, well, it's down in Bradley County on Highway 63, south of Warren. At the time Tommy started his coaching career, the population of Hermitage was 378. Tommy spent his first 4 years out of college in Hermitage, 2 years as an assistant, and then 1978 and 1979 as the head coach. And also he and his wife taught school while he was there. In 1980, he became an assistant at Arkansas State, and all of you know the rest of the story. 14 years as an assistant, followed by 21 years as a head coach. That includes SEC Coach of the Year at Ole Miss in 1997 and National Coach of the Year at Auburn in 2004 when the Tigers had a perfect season with a record of 13-0. One night in his life that he'll never forget is February 21st, 2008. We got some pictures of that. How many of you were there that night in what was called Alltel Arena for the annual induction banquet for the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame? I know that several of our Touchdown Club regulars were there that night. Ann Jansen Broadwater and Scott Inman were there as they were the co-MCs. Terry Condor Johnson was there as she had been inducted in 2005, and I introduced her along with all the other prior inductees. And also there, I know, were Rex and Perron and A.B. Metters and Ken Turner. We had how many people were there that night? Many more. Okay, one thing I certainly remember, and probably the rest of you do too, we inducted 12 people that night, and Coach Tuberville didn't even get to the podium until after 10 o'clock to get his plaque and say a few words. Scott Inman had already left and gone back to Channel 7 to do the news, and Ann Jansen was running the show by herself at that point. And in fact, Ann's photo was included in Auburn's football media guide that fall. Okay, one last show of hands. How many of you were here when Coach Tuberville was our guest speaker 8 years ago, August 24th, 2009? There's a photo from that event. Okay. All right, you've heard more than enough from me, but I can't resist with closing with 6 scores from the Iron Bowl. 2002, Auburn 17, Alabama 7. 2003, Auburn 28, Alabama 23. 2004, Auburn 21, Alabama 13. 2005, Auburn 28, Alabama 18. 2006, Auburn 22, Alabama 15. That was the thumb. 2007, Auburn 17, Alabama 10. That was 6. So here's an inductee of the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Tommy Tuberville.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Great to see all my friends here. Got a lot of friends, and then there's Wally Hall. You know? I'm still looking for one positive article from Wally Hall. Oh, Arkansas boy, huh? There's a couple. My mom, who was a huge Razorback fan, football fan, my fan, obviously, she hated Wally Hall. And I never read any of it. She'd say, Tommy, did you see what Wally Hall read or wrote? I said, no, ma'am, I didn't see it. So I'm sending it to you. I said, please don't. But God bless her. We lost her a year ago yesterday. I really miss her. She was a rock. I mean, she knew more football than pretty much me. She knew all the players that ever coached. I don't think she missed a game that I was involved in. I moved her to Texas Tech, moved her to Auburn and Ole Miss, but she was a good lady, and grew up in, as you heard earlier, grew up in Camden, and it's great to come home. You know, a lot of people said, yeah, we wanted you to come home to Arkansas and coach us. Hell, if you go to Arkansas and get fired, then where you go, you know? So it has been a wonderful 40 years of coached 40 years. And you heard earlier, started at Hermitage High School. We'd only had football 2 years. Very fortunate at that time to have a couple of good players. And Ken Turner knows we became very good friends. Lou Holtz got the job at Arkansas when I was down there, and had 2 players that Arkansas was looking at, and eventually took one, Danny Earl Phillips. And we didn't know what we had. The other kid that I tried to get them to take, and they wouldn't take both of them. And but the other one went to Northeast Louisiana and ended up making All-Pro for the Miami Dolphins. But it just goes to show you, players are everywhere. But I've had a very good career, met a lot of people, spoken at a lot of these, and met a lot of people that really loves football. College, high school, congratulations to Coach here and the young man. Sammy, it's a great sport. You know, we're losing our sport. I will tell you this. I was a president last 2 years ago with the American Football Coach Association. It's the union for coaches, pro, college, high school. We have 15,000 members, and I work with that group, Grant Taft's group, as on his council for about 12 years, and then I became president. And had a chance to go to a lot of meetings, and I tell you, we're struggling right now as a sport because obviously the concussion syndrome. We've lost about 40 to 50% of the young Pop Warner players across the country in the last 3 or 4 years. We don't have kids growing up wanting to be football players, and we're fighting enough as it is. And obviously, we want a safe sport. We know it's a very physical sport. What we've done is we've tried to get out to coaches. We write books. We give speeches on it in terms of we've got to teach tackling the right way, keep the head out, do all those things. And it's a tough sport. And thank God we have football for entertainment's sake, and also for the sake of a lot of young men that have played this sport over the years that have learned the difference between right and wrong, self-responsibility, teamwork, all those things. So I'm not going to get on my soapbox with that, but we really are. We're in some trouble. And hopefully we can make it safer and convince these moms of these younger kids coming up. And I'm not a believer in kids having tackle football when they're 5 or 6 years old. That's wrong. I don't believe in tackle football until you get 7th, 8th grade. But you still need to be involved in it some form or fashion. And again, it teaches a lot of great things. So, but it is great to be here today. I know you've had some good speakers, and I'm just glad to be back again to see so many friends and so many people that I've dealt with over the years. What a great place. I know that you heard earlier that I'm looking for a job. I'm really not. I've had some people call, but you do here at Arkansas, I'm telling you, you do have a very good football coach in Brett Bielema. Brett's a good friend of mine. I tried to hire him a few years ago, just before he got the Wisconsin job. Very good defensive coach. Paul Rhodes, your defensive coordinator, worked for me at Auburn, and just good guys. The one thing I will tell you, this is a different job, as they all are. And, Brett got thrown into a difficult situation coming from, Wisconsin to the SEC. And this is a state, obviously, that you really got to know it. You got to really know what Arkansas is about, and you got to really know the recruiting, what you can, what you can't do. And you've got to build, programs are built. Coach Broyles became a very good friend of mine over the years, and he's one of the reasons that I became a coach. He and Darrell Royal, all those fist fights that they had over the years, some in War Memorial, some in Fayetteville, some in Austin, I became a huge Razorback fan. I remember today where I was at in 1969, the Texas game. I was over at Camp Robinson. My dad was in the National Guard, and they were up here, and I came with him on his trip, and I watched the game out of one of the barracks over there. There wasn't anybody any more disappointed than me when they threw that 4th and 1 down the sideline. And, it's amazing how you remember things. But those kind of things, got to me, and it made an impression from those coaches about, what I wanted to do for a living. So when I got out of high school or college, I went straight and got me a high school job. And after dealing with parents on the high school level, I said, to hell with that. I'm going to get in college. I'm going to start selling insurance. Because parents in high school are a little different. But I had a great time there. And then Larry Lacewell, who probably knows more football than anybody, who is struggling right now. He's had some health problems after retirement. And Lace is a very good friend of mine. And, again, I learned most of my football from him. Then I learned from another Arkansas guy, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy hired me in 1986, and that was kind of my run down there of being around the 3 national championship teams, and second 3 times. We never lost when I was coaching there as an assistant at home. We were 55-0. I didn't thought you'd lose when you were at home. So around some good Arkansas guys, and then ended up with R.C. Slocum, then went to Ole Miss as head coach, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And everybody thinks, you become a head coach in college and just everything going on. You really don't. You've got to figure your way through it at every situation because they're all different. They're all different. And I've had some different challenges. Auburn was a challenge, Texas Tech, and then going to Cincinnati. I told my wife we'd go there for 3 or 4 years. She was from that area, and a little too cold for me. So now I'm living down in Destin and working for ESPN. But it's great to be here. Today's my birthday. There's 3 things. I will tell you this, and I learned this a long time ago, and I always told my players there's 3 things that you can't get back once it's gone, okay? 3 things. The first one is time. You just think about that. There's no timeouts in life, none. I mean, you can't slow it. If you're having a great time, if you're having a good time, if you're sick, if you're well, it just keeps going. We're only here a short period of time. The good Lord blessed us with the amount of time. Hey, some of us, we could be gone tomorrow. But take advantage of your time. Use it. We're all blessed with it, be on this earth and basically have our health. I have a buddy here, Jim Wiseman. He was my sporting goods salesman from Warren, Arkansas, and he's struggling right now. Jim, you look good, though. You look good. You look a lot better than you did 30 years ago when I was buying, when you was cheating me out of all those jock straps I was buying you. Overcharging. Yeah, but you can't get time back. The other 2, one is, you can't get words. You say words, and in this day and time, in college and high school football and any sport, even at your house, you've got to tell your kids. And remember, what you say or what you put on that best friend that you've got, which is called a telephone, you can't ever get it back. It's there. Somebody's going to read it in history. So just be careful what you say. And, it's then opportunities. Opportunities come along. Some are good, some are bad. But like I told all of our players, always look at every opportunity the best you could. Look at right now. Do your research. Either do it or don't, because once it's gone, it's not going to come back. So this is amazing life that we live in, because we all have friends, we all have opportunities, we all talk to friends, but our time is limited. But you know, we all look at these coaches now. I was reading in the paper today, all the hot seat coaches. And, of course, I think my seat was hot more than anybody's over the years that I coached because you put the pressure on yourself. But this is a great sport. It's a challenge. You know, coaches really don't look at those things. They really don't. It's a challenge every day to just get your team going, to go to class, do the things that you need to do. And then, obviously, every year you lose some and you win some. And then as time goes, you need to continue to build, because if you go backwards, you won't be there long. The SEC, for instance. Let's talk about the guy on the hill right now that's doing so good. Nick Saban's a good football coach. As you just heard, I beat him 6 years in a row. You know, when I was running for governor, somebody said, you know, you going to run for governor? Alabama, people going to vote for you? I said, heck, I was the one that got him Nick Saban. I ran everybody else off. They ought to vote for me. So, but Nick's on a pedestal right now. He's got it going. Everybody said, man, he's a heck of a coach. Nick wins from January to August. He doesn't win during the season. He has better players than everybody else. Better players. Now, obviously, he manages them, manages coaches. I don't call head coaches coaches. I call them managers, because that's exactly what you got to manage a lot of things. You got to put it all together, and then you got to get out there and perform 12 times a year and get them to play at a high grade of excellence, and that's not going to happen. It's very hard. But it all goes back to players. And as I was talking about earlier about Brett comes to Fayetteville. He's got to understand, you know, what's out there. You know, where do I need to get my players from? Where do I go? You know, what's the keys to this state? You know, I've even heard that, and I'll be one to tell you, you need to play games in Little Rock. The Hogs need to play right here. And I know there's a lot of people, even the coaching staff. If I was coaching up there, said, man, I don't want to go to Little Rock. Our kids need to be right here on campus in an environment. But there's some cases that are different. You know, this is one of those. This Razorback football team was built with many, many thousands of people that wasn't in Fayetteville, Arkansas, wasn't in that corner of the state. And there's a unique situation that you have. I would have never probably gotten into coaching had it not been for War Memorial Stadium. My dad would bring me up. We'd go to Fair Park. We'd park up in that area. Remember like it was yesterday. Walk down, sit in the stands, watch many a game. I never watched a game in Fayetteville. Never went up there. I mean, there's some people, you don't have time or you don't have money to go up there. And so I just think that, you know, I don't have anything to do with money raising or athletic director or the football coaching. I just look at it from the standpoint of fans, of, man, how many thousands of people, if you didn't come to Little Rock once or twice a year, that would not be in on what you have here in this state. And it's, again, I'm not here politicking for you. I just looking at it from my perspective, what would I have done? You know, if I didn't have the opportunity to go and watch the, you know, games in War Memorial Stadium at night and at daytime, and, you know, I can almost tell you all of them, the ones that I went to. I can remember going to one time where Wichita State airplane had crashed the week before. They had 2 planes. They killed everybody on board of one plane, and they had half the players and half the coaches left, and they came and played in War Memorial Stadium a week later, and I went to that game. That left a lasting impression on me about how that was handled by the Arkansas people. Obviously, you know, that was a devastating situation. I've also remember little things, and this is crazy, little things that, you know, I heard a lot about Lou Holtz. Met him as recruiting one of my players. Of course, Ken worked for him. And I went up to watch him, and I'll never forget, Lou Holtz is standing on the sideline wearing a green sweater. Y'all remember that? And somebody the next week, he said, Coach, I got 100 sweaters the next week in the mail, red sweaters. He said he didn't have a sweater to wear. He just left, I think it was a jet sweater or something. I thought, man, how weird it is that our football coach has got a green sweater standing on the sideline. Now, you don't think that War Memorial didn't make an impression on me as a young guy? So that being said, I don't know all the factors. I do know the shortcomings of a coach having to travel to a different stadium a couple times a year. But to build a fan base that Arkansas needs to continue to build and get kids involved, because there's a lot of football players that's south of Fort Smith that that need to grow up wanting to be Razorbacks, and I think that's a whole key. But I've heard Coach Broyles complain. Coach Broyles and I went to play golf at Augusta one. He and I got in an argument about it, and I said, Coach, you're of all people, you can remember that. Yeah, but it's about money. I said, Coach, it's not really about just money. It's about people. And so I'll get off my soapbox there. But I've had some good experiences over the last few years. One of them was, my wife laughs about this. I've probably been on television 250 games in my career, and people recognize me over the years. But now we go places in the last few years, and this happened recently. We went to Napa Valley. So we've always wanted to go to the wine country and never been able to go because I was always busy. So we go out there, and we're standing in the airport in San Francisco, and this lady walks up to me. She says, I know you from somewhere. And I said, ma'am, I don't know. She said, yep, you're the guy that was on that Blind Side movie, wasn't you? My wife gets the biggest kick out of that. Because that was a great movie. We had a great time. All the coaches went and did that. A little short deal on that. Fred Smith, that owns FedEx out of Memphis, is a good friend of all of us coaches. He loves college sports and athletics and owns part of the Redskins. And he bought the rights to that book because it was in Memphis, and he called all of us. I want the coaches that were in the book that recruited Michael Orr to actually do their spot. I said, that'd be great. And I was in Auburn, so it wasn't an hour and a half. We filmed it. They filmed it in 48 days in Atlanta. And so we're sitting on the set one day, and we're going to do our parts, and we all got our seat with our name on it. Man, we all felt special. Well, Lou was the first one to get up and do his little deal with recruiting a kid. They put up a living room and had cameras at every angle. Man, you're not talking about a big deal now. I mean, I never seen like workers. And so one coach went in at a time. They put the kids over there and said, okay, you got 5 minutes, recruit them for Arkansas or Ole Miss or Auburn. And Lou was first. He was from South Carolina, obviously had already left. And so Lou gets up there spitting all over everybody, and he does his deal, and I swear he said this. He gets up, and of course Sandra Bullock was sitting there, and he gets up. He says, I can't stay all day. Can I go ahead and do my shower scene with Sandra? He said that. He did say that, and but we had a good time. We asked the director of the movie actually did The Rookie, Marley and Me. He played football at Baylor, and so he knew a lot about football. And we asked him, says, how much you spend on this movie? So we're spending $90 million. It's filmed in 48 days. He said, we're just begging to do $100 million. We got to do $100 million to box office, get our money back, and it doesn't look like. He said, I'm gonna say right now we'll do $60 million to get our money back, and he said but Mr. Smith wanted to do this movie. He can afford to do it. He says his daughter owns a production company, so they did it. The movie did $1.1 billion. Wow. It was the largest grossing sports movie of all time to this point, and it'll obviously be broken. But it was a good movie, and Fred was embarrassed. He was embarrassed. He called each coach and said, listen, I want to send $50,000 to your best charity. He said, I'm embarrassed how much money we're doing on this thing. So he wasn't that embarrassed, though, I'll tell you. But I've had the opportunity to do all those things, and it's just fun being in sports and really in the South. I've been to other places to coach, and it's amazing how different it is in the South because this is, it's a passion. People love it. You get up in the morning and think about Razorback football. What do we got to do to win? Or what changes we got and who we play this week. The big game against Texas A&M in Jerry World, which will be good. And it'll be a big game. Brett knows it's a big game. Kevin Sumlin knows it's a big game after the way they played out in the Coliseum or Rose Bowl a few weeks ago. But every week it's like that. But you got a good coach, a coach that really has been there. He knows it. He understands it. You got a guy coming, I think, in a few weeks, Barry Alvarez, who is the best athletic director in the country. I did the Wisconsin BYU game 2 nights ago, and Barry was there. We talked, and he's a coach. He understands how to hire coaches, manage coaches. He doesn't spend $200,000 to go out and hire a coach, on a search committee. I've never understood that. If you're an AD, go hire him. I mean, that's your job. quit spending the taxpayers' money to find you a football coach. I mean, that's the reason you're an athletic director. And but Barry's done a great job with all of his sports, and he'll be a very good speaker. And he and I, matter of fact, I played him in his last game. We played it against each other in the Capital One Bowl in Orlando about 7, 8 years ago was the last game. He beat the heck out of me. And he had his boys all fired up. Our guys been on walking around Disney for about 5 days and wasn't ready to play. But it's a fun time now. Now I'm doing TV. This week I get to do an old Southwest Conference game, Wally. I get to do Texas Tech at Houston. And those two were in the old Southwest Conference, and man, have times changed. And then I'll be pretty much back in the SEC for the rest of the year, and looking forward to that. It's different doing television, I'll tell you that. I probably have to do more work doing that than I did coaching. I mean, you got two different teams each week. You got to memorize names, numbers, and what all of them done, and who the parents are, and tell all these stories. But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to go to these different places and not worry about who wins or loses. You know, that is really different. But it's just it's fun to watch it. But I'm looking forward to get back in the SEC. It's going to be different this year. Nick's up here, and everybody else is, I think, making a little headway. I think Auburn's making headway. I think Gus is making headway, and everybody's on him because he lost to Clemson. That's not the only team that's going to lose to Clemson this year. A lot of people. The Clemson might be the best team in the country. Just watching to this point, I know Oklahoma did great, but those type of offenses fall in. You know, they fall. You know, Baker Mayfield's going to have an off game, one game, and they could fall. But right now, I'd put my money on Clemson with a defense and a running game like they have. They're going to be hard to beat. And then you've got other teams. But I think that the guy to watch, I think one of the best hires in the conference was Kirby Smart 2 years ago. He's one of their own. And he went home to Georgia. He's not looking to go any place else. He played there. He wants that team to get back. I did their first game against Appalachian State, and it was a very good game. They are good. They got a very good defense. They got two great, not good, great running backs. And they got a young quarterback with a kid that been beat up a little bit, Jacob Eason, behind him. They're going to be fun to watch. So I think probably right now they're head and heels above everybody else. With Kentucky coming, South Carolina a little better, who knows, you know, what's going on in Florida. I've never seen anything like that. It's just, you know, we all remember when Florida, you know, when Steve was there, I mean, he'd name the score on you and would score it. He'd tell you that. He was one of those deals. And then, of course, on this side, I think Ed Orgeron's a good hire. And everybody said, well, you know, they just lost to Mississippi State. First few years now, you still got remembrance of past coaching staff. Now, other than Les did a good job, it's just the fact that I know Ed Orgeron. I actually got him hired with us and Jimmy down at Miami. Me and him worked together for 5 years. He's a good coach. He blew up at Ole Miss. Just his mentality, I think he understands now. But it'll take him a couple of years to get everything straight. And one of the better coaches is Dan Mullins. I've always said that. You know, he's going to do what he does, not change, not listen to anybody. But I think it's going to be interesting just to watch. Obviously, Ole Miss. I'm mad at them. I'm mad at the athletic director and all of them for letting that happen again. I took over last time that mess happened, and now they're getting ready to go through it again. And it's just a shame. It really is a shame that they didn't have safeguards to keep that from happening again. But it's just part of it. But it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a lot more competitive in the SEC this year because there's quarterbacks. Last year there were no quarterbacks. When you've got a freshman at Alabama that can't throw but runs around and makes plays, and he's the best one in the league, something's wrong. Now I think you're going to have a lot more this year, and they're coming. And I think Alabama's probably still the best, but you got a few teams that are creeping up on them, and we'll see what happens in the long run. But it is good to be back. Questions? Questions?
We'll do the first one,
All right, you're going to do the first.
Coach, since you went ahead and mentioned the Little Rock deal, you coached at ASU. Thoughts of U of A and Arkansas State plan? That's the first one. Second, best player you ever coached or coached against? And then since you sort of thought about politics, what's your favorite governor of all time for whatever reason?
I'm a coach. You're going to have to give me that so I can read it. Oh, U of A of Arkansas. I've always thought that should happen. And of course, a lot of people on the Hill in Fayetteville said, no, you know, we're different from them. We don't want them to share recruits. That would have never happened. But I think you need to keep money in the state. I think that should be played here in Little Rock. And Of course, you got a lot of other people that will say that won't and should never happen, but really times are changing. I mean, people need rivalries in college. The thing that helps and it separates this sport, college football, from pro anything else is rivalries. Arkansas needs a rivalry. You tried to make a rivalry with LSU. LSU's got other people they play. There's not a lot of carryover. There'd be a lot of carryover there. I think it just needs to be looked at. Now, in our lifetime, it probably won't happen, but that was one thing we're talking about. Best player I've ever coached was Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp was one of the most athletic players I've ever seen, and of course in Hall of Fame, and a guy that and I also had Ray Lewis. I recruited and coached Ray. And you talk about all these 5 stars and 4 stars. Ray Lewis was a 1-star. And we recruited him because we needed a linebacker, and we found him. He was a quarterback in high school, and we played a little running back, and Ray turned out to be pretty good. But these kids grow up. They make themselves into players. It's all about heart. Obviously, Ray wasn't the best athlete in the world. He just made himself into a player.
Favorite politician or governor?
Favorite politician? I've lived a few houses down from Mike Huckabee. So, if Mike Huckabee said that I wasn't he wasn't my favorite guy, I'd better say Mike Huckabee. But we live down there together, and he flies his Arkansas flag all the time, and I think he's a good representative from the state. I know I'm not going to get into politics. It took me about 3 months, and again, they asked me to run for governor, so I said, listen, I'll do my due diligence. I'll go around and look at it, and I did. After about 3 months, Paul Feinbaum called me and said, listen, there's a 40% chance you'll go to jail if you're elected. So a guy that listens to the media, like Wally Hall and Paul Feinbaum, I pulled out. I do not want to spend my final years in prison. But any other ones?
Yeah, Johnny, go ahead. That's it.
Coach, question I've got, either relating to the situation you were at Auburn versus Gus or across college football, has the salaries and other pressures made it more pressure-filled for a coach today versus 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was. It's gotten really out of hand. There's a lot of money, and hey, I can't complain about that. I made some. I was the first ever to have a buyout. When they caught somebody leaving the keys in the plane to go to Louisville, to interview Bobby Petrino in 2003, somebody left their keys in the plane. He wasn't on the plane, but they left the keys in it. The next year, I go undefeated, and they come offer me a contract, and then my agent says he's not coming back unless he gets a buyout. Well, what's that? And so I got a pretty good buyout, and it kind of all started from there. Now, that being said, the TV money is huge right now. Barry Alvarez was telling me the other day, each team in the Big Ten get $47 million. I think the SEC is pretty close to that. That's not going to last forever. We've all heard of streaming. Streaming is going to cut a big hole into whatever ESPN can pay. ESPN's, they're having some problems with people dropping subscriptions because these young kids coming up now don't buy cable. My kid bought a house not too long ago, and I says, I'm not paying your cable. He said, I'm not getting cable. I'm on stream. I said, what the heck's that? That's what it's coming to. So you're going to see in the future, these big paydays, from the television networks to these universities, and it's going to go. Now, they might find other ways to make money. I'm not going to say that it's going to go down that much either, but you're going to see a stopgap there with how far it can go. Now, Nick Saban, I don't know, Nick makes $11 million a year, $35,000 a day, something like that. Now, he's getting paid for what he's already done. That boy has done an unbelievable job for Alabama, got him back on the map, helped college football. Every school in the conference should send him a paycheck because of the conference. The TV revenue they're getting comes from Alabama. A little bit of what they put everything on the map. But I don't see the payouts being that much in the future. I don't see the salaries will come down drastically. But I think the better guys that are winning will get money. But I think you're going to see it start dropping to a certain degree. That's a very good question. But working in television now, you hear about how it's changed as it was 7-8 years ago in terms of the subscriptions and all those things the money's not coming in like it used to. Other question? Opportunity. Always looking at opportunity. Because once it's gone, you can't ever get it back. And I heard a guy tell that about 20 years ago, and he expounded on it a lot more. But it's something I always share with my players. Again, time is really precious, and sometimes we don't think about it. An hour ago, we can't get that back. I mean, you're not ever going to get it back. There's nothing you can do about it. Another question? Yes, sir. Yeah. Rip Powell was he was a tough old cowboy. You know, he'd come in practice and he'd have boots on sometimes with cow crap on them. You know, he baled hay during the day. He raised cows. He was like our grandfather back in those days, where he believed in getting up and doing your chores before you went to work. I mean, that's the type of guy he was, and he just hard-nosed, loved him to death. He treated everybody the same. He'd know your name, and for years, me and him stayed in touch. And he'd just call and, Coach, he never asked about football. How you doing? How's your family? Saw your kids on television. Just a good guy. And what you would think, a football coach would be like. Somebody that really cared about you, not while you were playing, but after you're gone. And Rip, he had those moral values, and you stuck with him or you didn't play with him. Yes, sir.
One more. Coach, you asked where you can go after you get fired from Arkansas. You can go to Ole Miss, you can go to Louisville, and you can go to Notre Dame.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Folks, I really enjoy coming back and seeing everybody. What a great place. I wish the best for the Hogs and Arkansas State and all the teams in the AIC. It's not AIC anymore. It's other conferences. It's a great state. You don't have that big a population, but what you have, you use the most of it. And you've got a lot of great people here that have made influences on a lot of people's lives. I hate that we lost to Coach Broyles again. I got really used to calling him every so often and just ask him his opinion about things. And he was a lot of fun to be around. But there's a lot of people in this staff. Still got a lot of friends in coaching, retired, all those things, and it's just made a lasting memory on me. And I'd safely, and I can say this, everywhere I've been, Coach, where are you from? I grew up in Arkansas, and I'm proud of it. Thank you.
All right. Great job, Tommy. Tommy Tuberville, everybody. Great job, Coach. Barry Alvarez next Monday should be interesting. Let Coach Tuberville's got to catch a flight, so if you can't, let him get out of here. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.
One more? Good. Great job, Coach. Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah, hey, Will. We're glad you did. Yeah, we need that news.